The second thing we find in incarnational ministry is the power of story. Everybody has a story. There's power in story, but unfortunately, we are a people who are hardwired to our prejudices. So we can look at people. You could show it to my church. You just saw pictures of people being baptized that are covered head to toe in tattoos. One of the young men that you saw coming up out of the water in this picture was actually a part of a 1% outlaw motorcycle gang. And it would be real easy to look at Justin and say, I know your story. It would be easy to see the profanity that's tattooed across his knuckles and say, man, I know that you're a dangerous guy. But there's something powerful that happens when we become churches who learn to listen, to hear the story. One of the things that I find, there was a young lady who was actually a stripper at the strip club that we were able to purchase and to turn into a community center and a church in Colorado. And she was a very outspoken critic of us. And one of the things that we decided to do is it was going to take about $2.5 million to purchase that, to remodel the building. It was only about 7,000 square feet that we were going to move into. But we decided that, God, if you want us to have this building, we're going to set our sights in not just raising $2.5 million, but we want to raise closer to $3 million because we want to set aside a fund where we can serve with no strings attached every stripper, every bouncer, and every bartender that's going to lose a job. That's our first mission field. That was 26 people. Like I told you, we've seen 12 out of 26 give their life to Jesus. This young lady, who was kind of the leader of the pack, stood up in a meeting when we said, we've raised over $300,000 and it's accessible, available to you, and we felt really good about that. And she stood up and she looked me square in the eye and she said, what the fill in the blank is your $300,000 going to do to a high school dropout that has no formal education and is losing a six-figure income because you're taking away my job? We asked the question, how can we help? We actually sat down with this young lady, and when I heard her story, what I realized was I had her all wrong. It's a story that began with emotional, physical, and sexual abuse when she was 4 years old. A mom who used to put her in the most dangerous and precarious situations throughout her life. She had experienced abuse from men from that time into the present. She was 36 years old at the time. And what I realized was everything that I believed about this young lady was wrong. She was actually stronger than I've ever had to be in my life. She had more fortitude and strength and actually faith that day than I had ever been asked to muster in my life. You see, when I heard her story, it changed everything. And it turned my heart of stone into a heart of flesh. Remember the story of Jesus when he met the woman at the well? She looked at him and she said, man, what are you doing here? You are a Jewish rabbi and I'm a Samaritan woman. And Jesus got right to the heart of her story. He said, I know your story. I know you've been married 5 times and now you're living with a guy who's not even your husband. And what was her response? It wasn't, how dare you? But it was her running back into the city, the very people that she was probably hiding from by being at the well in the middle of the day, and saying, come and meet the man who told me everything that I have ever done. There is something powerful that happens when you have no more secrets and you're still loved. And what happens when we become a church that allows people to have no more secrets and say, you still belong, you're still here unflinchingly. We choose to stay in the middle of your story, knowing God is ready to tell one even greater.